What if Ahsoka raised Luke and Leia? Ahsoka stood there, looking out over the countless graves. In them were men who she had known and cared for, and they had cared for her as well. Her body ached, having spent hours searching through the crash vendor to find as many troopers as they could, then burying them all. She wondered what this was all for, all the death, pain, heartache, and destruction. Why had it happened? What reason was there? She held her lightsabers in her hand, her last connection to her old life, her life of being a Jedi, a life with family and friends. She was about to let them fall out of her hand, to accept the death of her old self, when a pull in the force made her clutch them tightly instead. Turning to Rex, she apologized, but said something was calling to her and that they needed to go. As took off from the moon in the Y-Wing, Rex asked Ahsoka what was calling to her, and if she knew where it was. She didn't know what it was, only something familiar, but a certain place came to mind. It was a place she had never been to before, so it made no sense that she knew it. So it must be where this pull in the force was calling her to. She told Rex to go to Polis Massa, and they jumped into hyperspace. They arrived in orbit and proceeded to enter the planet's atmosphere. So guides Rex where the pull was coming from, a tall building in the middle of the small city. As they landed, they noticed Padme's ship on the landing platform. As they make their way through the building, it becomes clear that it is a medical center of some sort. Ahsoka's pace quickens, trying to suppress the hope that was starting to spread through her. Maybe Anakin was still alive, and with Padme at that. She stops out of a room with a window facing in. Inside the room lay Padme, with Obi-Wan by her side. She enters and rushes to Padme's side, wanting to ask about Anakin, but it becomes clear that she is a neighbor. She holds her questions, instead being there for Padme as she gave birth, holding her hand through it. Padme gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and it is only when Obi-Wan is handing them to her and Padme that Ahsoka remembers him. After holding both the twins for a moment and naming them Luke and Leia, Padme grabs Ahsoka's hand again and asks her, nearly begging, to protect the children and raise them, for her and Anakin. Ahsoka agrees and swears that she will do everything she can to not only protect the twins, but raise them and give them as good a life as possible. After hearing these words, Padme passes away. Ahsoka gently folds Padme's hands onto her chest and rises and looks at the twins. She gently picks up Leia, then looks over at Obi-Wan, who is holding Luke. Ahsoka doesn't know what to do or say, still in shock, but she manages to ask about Anakin. Obi-Wan is tempted to lie to her, saying that he died, which the Anakin they knew did. But to prepare her, he admits that he had fallen to the dark side and they had fallen Mustafar. He had been gravely injured the last time he had seen him, but Palpatine, who was a Sith Lord, had arrived before he had jumped into hyperspace, so there was a chance he was still alive. Ahsoka could barely comprehend the words, but when he knew that he had attacked Padme, she forced herself to accept them, for the sake of the twins. A knock on the glass made them turn to find Yoda and Bell standing outside along with Rex. They go out and meet them and Ahsoka greets them. They start discussing what to do with the twins, with Yoda suggesting splitting them up, but Ahsoka interrupts, refusing to allow them to be separated. She states that Padme had asked her to raise them, and she was going to honor Padme's dying wish. Obi-Wan confirms that Padme asked that, and is hesitantly agreed upon that Ahsoka would take and raise them. Belle offers that she could come and stay on Alderaan at any time as she wanted, and she accepted. She had no ship, at least not including the Y-Wing that Rex needed, and was not suitable to carry a pair of twins. She also knew little on how to raise children, only having the experience of visiting and looking after some younglings in the Jedi Temple. Yoda and Obi-Wan have a small talk alone before they depart together. Before they go, they tell Ahsoka that she can find them on Dagobah if she ever needs them, and she thanks them. Rex follows them to Alderaan, wanting to make sure that both Ahsoka and the Skywalker twins are safe. When they get there and land in the palace, Bail Organa takes him to his wife, the queen and ruler of Alderaan. She is excited not to only have guests over, but to have young children to raise. They had tried to have children themselves, but couldn't. She and Ahsoka quickly become friends and spend much of their free time together with the twins. Ahsoka never really had a maternal figure in her life, with only Plo Koon in her early life. More Jedi came in, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and others as well, but the closest woman she had been to was Barriss, who had betrayed her. Now Queen Brihal was taking care of her like her own daughter along with the twins, and she couldn't lie, it was nice. Ahsoka also saw Rex often for the first few days there, and she only learned before he left what he was up to. He and Bell were joining forces to fight the new Empire and Chancellor Palpatine. Rex wasn't out of the fight just yet, as his brothers were still being controlled by the chips. Bail Organa would provide chips, weapons, equipment, and information, In return, Rex would start freeing his brothers from the chip's control and start rebelling with those men. The clones were soldiers. All they knew was how to fight, and it was already becoming clear with the war being over that the Empire didn't know what to do with them. So, now they would fight for themselves and their brothers. Ahsoka wants to do something, but she won't endanger the twins. A solution comes to her when Rex mentions getting the chips out, though. Since she had to use the Force to get Rex's out, she figured that they would need to find a safe and certain way to remove them without a Jedi. She tells Rex to get clones, and they would start finding a way to remove the chips quickly at any medical facility. Rex gets several clones that are willing to listen to him, but to make sure to restrain them so Ahsoka would not be at risk. They don't do the procedure on Alderaan, not wanting to compromise the safety of the planet. Instead, Ahsoka meets Rex on a Corvette that Bell had given him, leaving the twins in Queen Breha's care. Using a medical droid, they start mapping the brain and finding the exact location of the chip. Once that is done, they follow the droid on how to safely remove it. It is completed, but they wait for the trooper to wake up before continuing. When he does and scans show that he is fine, they move on to the next clone. It only takes a few before they finalize this process, making the removal of the chip safe, fast, and simple, and being able to be done with almost any medical droid. Ahsoka distances herself from the rebellion after that, feeling guilty that she wasn't doing her best to keep her promise to Padme. A few months pass of Ahsoka learning how to take care of the twins and the things that Druids didn't have, namely hair and how tangled it can get. She enjoys every moment of it, both being with the twins and Queen Breha, but she comes to the tough conclusion that she is going to have to leave. The Organas were kind, and she was daunted at the challenge of raising Luke and Leia by herself. However, there weren't any other Togruta in the capital city, maybe not even on the planet, and most everyone that saw her remembered her. Most of the people were loyal to their queen, but the Empire was spreading its grip, and she knew that sooner rather than later, her presence would be reported as suspicious. If someone who knew anything about the war or the Jedi saw or heard about her, they would easily connect the dots that she was at one time a Jedi. Since there were only 3 Togruta in the Jedi Order, it wouldn't be hard to narrow down which one she was. She told us that she was planning on leaving with the twins to Breha and Bell, and they sadly agreed, saying that the longer she was there, the more at risk she and Alderaan were. It was also best for the twins as the existence of Vader had become known. She told them what Obi-Wan had told her, that Anakin could be alive, and they suspect that Vader was Anakin, but had yet to confirm it. Bell had also informed Rex of this possibility. If Vader visited and the twins were there, then it wouldn't be hard for him to see that they could be his children. As a parting gift, Bell gives her a shuttle that wasn't registered, a ship that didn't exist. She took what meager possessions she and the twins had and boarded the ship. Breha's parting gift was a large amount of credits, which she unsuccessfully tried to refuse, and always insisting that she come back at any time if she wanted or needed help. Ahsoka thanks them before departing. She wanders the galaxy for a couple months, spending most of the time in space, only landing to get supplies and scope out worlds. She was tempted to settle on a planet that was uninhabited or at least had few inhabitants, which she found several of. But after the first month, she realized that until the twins got older and could start taking care of themselves, it would be best if she had some help in taking care of them. So with few options that wouldn't repeat the problem on Alderaan, her being one of the few if only Togruta, she decided to head to Chile. Though the twins would stick out there, she knew that Togrutas would welcome them and not report them to the Empire. Their communities were tight, and though welcoming of outsiders, they didn't fully trust them. However, with her being a Togruta, they would more easily let her become part of their community, even with human children, or maybe especially because of that. Ahsoka finds her in a remote village and is welcomed in. She had the shuttle in the forest, and this tribe rarely received news of the galaxy, so they were saved from both outsiders and from them receiving information that could harm them. She stayed there, raising the twins for the next several years. She helped hunt and protect the tribe, and they viewed her as a valuable member, with other Togrutas watching over the twins when she was away. As they grew, she couldn't deny that Leia resembled Padme and Luke resembled Anakin. Though Leia's personality reminded her of Anakin and Luke's out of Padme. It was an odd thing to see someone resembling Anakin being calm and compassionate, and the opposite with someone that resembled Padme being hot-headed and prone to emotions. She could feel that they were strong in the Force from an early age, and she worked hard to hide their presence in the Force as well as hers. She started training them young to control their Force powers, both to be able to protect themselves and not wreak havoc whenever they had a tantrum. She taught them how she was taught in the Jedi Temple, incorporating things that she herself had learned through her life so far, like emotions, as long as they were positive, could help you, and it was okay to tap into the dark side, as long as you didn't let it consume you, and you weren't doing it out of anger or hate. As they got older, she demonstrated the lightsaber forms she knew and slowly taught them to them, using sticks she had found and carved to resemble lightsabers. When she believed they were old enough, she let them use her lightsabers, allowing them to see how they felt and handled. Ahsoka was content with staying there forever, but just after the twins' 6th birthday, while Luke and Leia were playing in the forest near the village, an Akul appeared. Their fear combined with their desire to protect each other caused them to unleash a blast of the Force. It threw the Akul back, allowing them to run. Ahsoka, who felt the surge of the Force and was near, rushed to them, but the Akul plunged into the forest. The village immediately assembled a party to go hunt it down and kill it. Ahsoka was part of it, and they successfully tracked and killed the Akul. It was only that night, when everything had mostly calmed down and she had gone Luke and Leia to bed, that she registered everything that had happened, and she grew anxious. She hadn't been able to have their presence in the Force, or the surge of the Force that the twins had created. They had been too powerful. She wasn't concerned about their presence in the Force being revealed momentarily. There was no one around them to recognize them. But she was sure that the surge in the Force had reached far. Before she had left Alderaan, Bella told her of a new organization in the Empire. It was called the Inquisitorius, and it was made of former Jedi turned Sith. The main reason for existence was to hunt down surviving Jedi and Force sensitives. If any of them felt it, or Palpatine or Vader, then they were in trouble. Try not to panic, instead somehow getting herself to fall asleep. She would wait and see, though she would make sure to be ready if the Empire appeared over Shili. After almost a week of being on edge and being ready to leave, she started to relax. But on the evening of the 6th day after the incident, fighters flew over the village. She didn't waste any time. She had already packed and loaded most of her possessions on the ship. She still did not have many things, with her being brought up in the Jedi Temple, with the belief that the Jedi didn't have worldly possessions. However, she hasn't forced the same on Luke and Leia, and they had gathered quite a few things. Now she grabbed the few daily essentials she had left in their small home, throwing them into the pack, and ran to find Luke and Leia. They were close by, and on their way out of the village, she apologized to the village chief, and the Togrutas with him, thanking them for their kindness and generosity, and apologizing for any trouble she might have caused. They understood, and Ahsoka urged them to cooperate with the Empire so as to avoid harm and reprisal. They then quickly run to where Ahsoka has hid the ship, quickly boarding and powering it up. As she took off, she could see several shuttles landing near the village. After checking the scanners to make sure that there were no fighters, she flew off, initially staying low, close to the trees to avoid detection for both scanners in sight. Once she was a good distance away, she flew up and into space. She quickly told the astromech to jump to a random uninhabited area. Before the jump, she saw several of the new Star Destroyers in the accompanying fleet, as well as the new fighters patrolling around the fleet. She was worried about the Togrutas, and she wondered what would happen to them. After several random jumps to several random worlds across the galaxy, she reflected that she had wanted to live in seclusion with Luke and Leia. However, living on Shili was hard. It was a remote village, so they grew, hunted, and made almost everything they had. She had barely been able to keep up with them, since she had been raised in a temple with all needs provided for. Now, she wasn't sure if she could live off the land in seclusion with the twins, though she didn't want to put any more people at risk either, being part of another community. She also didn't want to start settling down and building a home if everything could end in an instant with a single accident. She didn't know if she could take losing any more places she could call home or people she considered friends. A couple of weeks passed where they mostly stayed in space, only visiting a planet to get more food and refuel, and to occasionally sleep on the stars if Ahsoka felt it safe enough. Luke and Leia were getting depressed though, having spent most of their lives so far on a planet surrounded by lush living things under the sun and stars. So had gotten used to space during her time serving in the GAR, and eventually found something soothing about staring out at the empty void. She found a solution by chance during a stop to reprovision on a backwater planet. When she was in the only shop in town buying rations, she overheard a girl comment to the shopkeeper that their droid had broke. They were looking to get another one since there was no one that knew how to fix it. Ahsoka offered to fix it for a few credits, since the credits that Bella had given her were running low. The girl figured that she had nothing to lose and showed her to her house. The droid wasn't in too bad condition, besides being comprised mainly of non-original parts and heavily worn, and she managed to fix it quickly. She decided to stay on the planet temporarily, earn some credits, and wanted to let the twins have a break from living on the ship. She walked around town with them, getting a sense of it, and the people present kind to her. Word had already spread about her work with the droids. People were eagerly trying to get her to look at their droids, both current and old ones. Through this, she learns of an abandoned house out of town, and when she asks, they tell her that she was fine to move into it if she wanted. She was hesitant to settle down, but Luke and Leia wanted to stay longer than a few days, eager to explore, see new things, and meet new people. So Ahsoka relents and decides to try settling down again. They slowly move into the house and make themselves at home, with Ahsoka making the necessary repairs and renovations to the home, which wasn't in too bad a condition, thankfully. Ahsoka fixes droids whenever they bring them to her and earns enough credits to survive, especially since she can charge whatever she wants, as she is the only one that can fix them on the planet, but she's generous and tends not to charge too much. This attracts people from nearby planets who come to have her repair their droids as well. She also got updated with what had happened and was currently happening in the galaxy. Though there are a few visitors and the connection with the HoloNet was sketchy at best, news still somehow reached this small town. What she heard shocked her. There's an active resistance against the Empire. There are strike teams hitting logistic bases, stealing credits, weapon supplies, and such. And subsequently the soldiers that are supposed to get those didn't. There are also strikes against larger fleets, and it wasn't uncommon to hear that the Empire lost a Star Destroyer in the accompanying fleet. Because of this, the Empire had to withdraw from several regions of the galaxy or risk being cut off. There are also rumors that the surviving Jedi were also fighting for the Resistance. Ahsoka knew from her time at Alderaan that the Resistance was likely the clones that followed Rex, but with her advanced aging, the youngest would have the body of a 30-year-old, and the oldest, like Rex, nearing their 40s. However, as she heard reports that even the Inquisitors were falling when they fought them, she started to wonder if she had done the math correctly. She was eager to know the truth of everything that was going on, and she knew that she could have just contacted or visited Bell Organa, but she held herself back, forcing herself not to think about it. Her job was to raise the twins. She was the only parent they had ever known, their mother in every way except for blood. They had always called her their mother, though Ahsoka did tell them about Padme and Anakin, though only the good parts. A year quickly passed on the planet without Ahsoka realizing it. There are good and bad people there, but they mostly welcomed her and didn't ask questions. She had nearly replenished her stash credits and fully stocked the ship with supplies, but things were going good and leaving this planet wasn't on her mind. However, one day as she was walking with Luke and Leia through town, everything changed. A Star Destroyer appeared in orbit and descended into the atmosphere. Ahsoka scoops up the twins, one in each arm, and runs towards home. Shuttles were landing within the hour, with the first soldiers setting foot on the planet as Ahsoka and the twins made it home. Ahsoka wanted to quickly leave, but she forced herself to calm down. They likely weren't here for her and the twins. They probably didn't even know that a Force user was here, and she couldn't just get her ship and leave as fires are patrolling the skies above. There was a chance she could escape, but was more likely to be shot down, and she would not risk the twins. They stayed home for the rest of the day and into the next, but in the evening the next day, Ahsoka went to town to see if she could figure out why the Imperials were here. After talking to several people, she learned that since this planet was near a major hyperspace route, they were setting up a base to be a quick response force for when the Resistance struck. She was thinking that it was nothing too bad, though she did find it hard not to at least warn Bell Organa. But she knew that the Imperials were at least checking every communication coming and leaving the planet. However, as she was heading home, a quiet conversation made her stop cold. She interrupted them to make sure, not wanting it to be true, but they confirmed it. An Inquisitor had accompanied the Imperials and would be stationed here for the time being. For the next few days, Ahsoka doesn't allow Luke or Leia to go into town, and to only leave the house if there is no one around. They don't understand and are scared and worried, but Ahsoka tries to reassure them. She tells them that they would leave as soon as they could because the Imperials wanted them dead. However, it wasn't long before there was a knock at the door. Ahsoka knew who it was. She had sensed them approaching the house, a dark presence in the Force. It was the Inquisitor. She decided to play it cool and cooperate until they forced her hand. She opened the door and greeted the captain as a patrol that had accompanied the Inquisitor. They requested that all occupants come out so they could search the residence. She complied, bringing Luke and Leia to stand outside. She kept all the incriminating things on the ship anyway, which was hidden in a nearby cave, except for one of her lightsabers, which she had on her. While the soldiers searched, the Inquisitor stayed outside with them and another soldier. She tried to stay calm and collected, but his gaze stayed on her, only occasionally passing the children when they visited. They wore a helmet and mask that covered half their face, with the other half obscured in shadow, even in broad daylight. When they spoke, she nearly jumped. "What is your connection to the children?" "Their mother was my friend. She died giving birth to them. She asked me to raise them." I see. Do you not recognize me, Ahsoka Tano?"